Let us pray for that peace and for a more hopeful future across the Middle East. There are those who present a false choice. They say that we must choose between supporting Israel and supporting Arab and Muslim nations in the region. That is completely wrong. All decent people want to live in peace, and all humanity is threatened by the evils of terrorism. Diverse nations can unite around the goal of protecting innocent life, upholding human dignity, and promoting peace and stability in the region. My administration is committed to pursuing such a coalition, and we have already made substantial progress during this trip.
President Trump has called it the ultimate deal as he talked about jump-starting the Middle East peace process and touting some progress, as you just heard, he made on his first trip to the region. There you see the president leaving Tel Aviv, where he met with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu as well as the Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas. Joining us now, Tzipi Livni, former Israeli foreign minister, former chief negotiator for the Israelis with the Palestinians. Thank you for being here, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
As we look at the situation right now, the president is now on his way off to Rome. What's changed from the Israeli perspective? What progress has been made?
First, it was a very good visit. The president came just from visiting Riyadh, where he met Arab leaders, saying that they are willing that Israel would be part of the camp of moderates fighting against terror, as long as we would move forward in peace talks with the Palestinians. And therefore, there are really new opportunities here. And I believe that the role of leaders now is to seize and to grab these opportunities. And the president put everything now on the table, just as an idea first.
It's been well noted, ma'am.
That later
it's been well noted that the government in Israel right now is the most right-wing government your country has ever had. There's many folks in the government right now, in leadership, who say, for effectively, that the Palestinians already have a state. It's called Jordan. They don't even want to enter into negotiations. What leverage does Prime Minister Netanyahu have to be able to enter into good faith negotiations?
Netanyahu has a majority. Those believing that peace means embracing the idea of two states for two peoples. This is a majority in the Israeli parliament. This is the majority of the public opinion in Israel, especially after President Trump emphasized that the U.S. would be with Israel when it comes to Israel's security. It is true that there is a minority in the government that completely ignore or is not willing to move forward on the basis of two states, but as I say also here in Israel, as part of the opposition, if Netanyahu is willing to make the steps that are needed, he would have the majority. He would not fall. He would not lose his job as a prime minister.
Specifically, what steps does he need to make? I asked this to the Palestinians. They didn't have a good answer. I said, what steps do you need to make as Palestinians? They didn't have a good answer. What steps does Israel need to make? What steps can you make to actually fulfill President Trump's goal, if you will?
I think that this depends on the president himself. What is the plan that he would put on the table?
So it's up to
him and the others in the region.
Is it up to the president of the United States, or is it up to the prime minister of Israel?
It is up to the president of the United States to put a plan on the table, and this would force both of them, the Israeli prime minister and the President Abbas, to make the decisions that are needed. For now, the Palestinians said that they are willing to negotiate without preconditions, which is good. But there are, I believe, some expectations that are relating to the core issues of the conflict. But it's too early to know what are the steps that are needed to make the negotiations, not just negotiations for the sake of negotiations, but something with real substance. So now we are all waiting for President Trump's team to sit after absorbing all the ideas in the region and to put a plan on the table.
It brings up an important point. Yesterday we had on a Palestinian leader, Dr. Barghouti, who refuse to call the people who blow up buses, who attack children, who launch rockets into Israel terrorists. He says they're not terrorists. I said, how can you be a partner in peace when you can't call people who do those acts terrorists? He didn't have a good answer for that. So with that in mind, I ask you this. Is there a plan that the American president or anybody could put on the table that you as a former negotiator would look at and reasonably say both the Israelis would accept it and the Palestinians would accept it? Does that plan exist?
One, terror is terror is terror. There is no just cause for terrorism, and these terrorists are sitting in Israeli jail because they acted these terror attacks against Israeli civilians, and this is something which is not accepted. Point. And this is something that the president also said today in Israel.
I understand that, but
now I negotiated.
Is there a plan?
I'm giving you an answer.
Okay, go ahead.
I believe that we narrow the gaps that we used to have in the past between us and the Palestinians, but we didn't bridge all the gaps. And eventually we didn't achieve peace. But the gaps are narrow now. Maybe they are deep, but they are narrow on all of the core issues. And therefore, if we start not from zero, if we start by having something that relates to the core issue, not with all the gaps, not from zero, this can be the basis for negotiation as long as the Arab states would support it, saying to Israelis that peace with the Palestinians is not just with the Palestinians but the entire Arab world. This is very important for Israelis, and this can also give the power and the strength to the Palestinian president to make the decisions that he needs to make and the compromises that he needs to make in order to achieve peace. I didn't say that it's easy. It's complicated, but it's doable.
Well, it is not easy, that is for sure. And I have to tell you, I admire your optimism. Tzipi Livni from Tel Aviv. Thank you, ma'am.